Hey guys, welcome back. As you can see, today we're going to be playing with holiday lights. And have you ever taken a photo and used flash and all of a sudden when you look at the picture, there's no lights on your holiday lights or on candles? Where did the flame go when the flash went? Well, we're going to answer all that, and I'm going to give you some tips and tricks on how to shoot with holiday lights, and we're going to include some food photography with the holiday lights. Gotta love those Christmas tasty treats. Let's get into it. So you've tried taking photographs before and the holiday lights are gone. There's no flame on the candle. Well, let's see if we can answer it. It's kind of like answering, where does the white go when the snow melts? More points to ponder. But anyways, when we're doing holiday lights or candles, you're looking at it through your eyes and you're seeing the ambient light. Now, for studio photography, using studio strobes or off-camera flash, that is designed to override ambient light. In other words, your studio lights are more powerful than the room lights. That's why you don't see those little holiday twinkle lights, because you're overpowering it so it doesn't even look like they're turned on. Now, how we compensate for this is we have to change our shutter speed. Normally my shutter speed in syncing with my studio lights is set at about 160. But in order to do this shoot, I had to dial it back to 10 versus 160. I needed that slower shutter. So what happens is the flash pops, poof, but the shutter stays open to gain some room light, ambient light, and then I can see those holiday lights. That's how it basically works. Now, let's have a quick look at my little setup and we can see how I kind of arrange things and the tasty treats that we're going to photograph today. Here's a pull back behind the scenes of the shoot that we're doing, and you can see I've got a strip box on the left hand side and it's kind of at the back, giving a bit of backlighting to the cupcakes. I'm also using the Nikon D800 with that Tamron 90mm lens, and I'm shooting at about f.6. I am fairly close to the subject. And you can see I've got the table set up really nice. I've got a bit of fake pine boughs with some Christmas lights and a few little ornaments. I do have on this side this white card, which was up like that to give a kick back to light on the right hand side of those cupcakes, as you've seen in previous videos how that fills in. But that is my little setup, complete with holiday fairy lights. Oh man, those holiday cupcakes look delicious. But that was my little setup and it worked quite well. Now I decided to go with the strip box versus a big soft box because I wanted to control the light a little more and I wanted a bit of the backlight and a bit of a harder shadow. So I went with a smaller light source, as we've talked about before, and I did the bit of backlight, but I didn't want the light going everywhere because I was using the Christmas ambient lights to help fill in some of the, and add a little bit of warmth into the photo from those lights, because they're a different color temperature than my studio strobes. So they're a bit warmer. But that's what we need to consider. We need to consider the room light. So what I did is I shut off all the ambient light in my studio. I had no lights on other than the studio strobe, and I turned the modeling light off on it after I got it set in place, and I only had the holiday lights on. Now, if focusing gets to be an issue, then you can turn a bit of light on so you can be able to focus, but I tend to shoot fairly dark when I'm doing that, and then I'm not getting any unwanted ambient light coming into the scene where I'm getting a light where I don't know where it's coming from. This way it just makes it easier to control. So that's basically how you shoot holiday lights and candles. You slow your shutter speed down, the flash goes, the shutter stays open, captures that. It's a bit of trial and error to get your lighting right, but that's the joys of digital. You can take a few photos to dial in your exposure the way you want. Now, one thing we really need to consider, and we've discussed before, is aperture. Depending on the aperture that you're going with will greatly affect the image and your depth of field. Now, not only does it control the depth of field, but it'll also change the size of your holiday light or even your candle that's in the background. The more in focus it is, the more true to life size it gets, the more blown out it gets, the more out of focus it is, that larger that candle flame or those holiday lights will look. So be aware of that. So when you're setting your aperture, you've got to determine your distance from your camera to your subject to the background, and the aperture that you're using. All of that controls the depth of field and how blurry your background is and the size of those holiday lights. So you're going to have to play with that, tweak it, do a few test shots to get it all right. But that's what you have to be aware of. Camera to subject distance, subject to background distance, and the aperture. The more wide open you are to how more stop down you are. Now here's an example, a shot like f3 and then this one at f6. So you can see not a massive difference, but there is a difference in the size of the holiday lights and definitely the blurriness of the background. Now again, with aperture, you have to be careful. If you're going at 1.8, 1.4, your depth of field is very shallow when you're in relatively close to the subject. So not all your subjects in focus. And I've talked about this in food photography before, that sometimes I find the depth of field is way too shallow. Now, I shot my images at about 5.6, and I'm using that Tamron 90mm lens. So I do have a bit of compression going on there as well, and I've got the depth of field that I want. Now, if I wanted to, I could cheat and focus on the first cupcake, and then change my focus point to just a bit behind, and then focus stack the two together. I will, as I have said in the past, and I guess I'm going to have to get around to this, is showing you how to do a focus stacking video. And I'll show you how to do that within a video. That'll be coming up down the road. But for now, I was shooting 5.6. If you're wide open, just be aware that a lot of your subject, like a lot of my cupcake, wouldn't be in focus. If I'm shooting down on it a bit, the top would be in focus, and then the focus would fall away on the bottom. And those are only tiny little cupcakes. They're not very big. So you got to be aware of that, but it's up to the artist's discretion to how blurred you want the background, how big you want those holiday lights blurred in the background, what depth of field you want, how much do you want in focus. Those are all your decisions as a creative to decide. But that is your basic understanding of doing holiday lights and candles with studio strobes or off-camera flash, on-camera flash. You have to balance your shutter speed and the ambient light to get the fill light in and get the lighting from your strobe. Quick way to do it is I always start by setting my camera to the ambient light, underexposing just a touch, then turn on the studio strobe or the flash to balance it. I find that's my fastest way to get to my starting point. All right, that's it for this one. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe. Hit that bell notification so you're aware when I post new videos. If you enjoyed this, please give it a thumbs up. So, ho ho ho, until the next time.